a diesel bus if not. But right now, the buses are about a year out, so even if we order it now, we probably wouldn't see it till this time next year. But I just wanted to put it on.
Yeah. Thank you. Next is cross-country team recognition.
Yes, I'll take that one. Unfortunately, Coach Tyson was going to be here, and the highway is currently closed down, so she could not make it here. But we have a few of the boys here. The girls are almost every single one of them either at wrestling or basketball practice right now, so they couldn't make it. But our boys team had another super successful season. They got second place in the state, kind of led by Wyatt Jacobson over there, who also got second at the state meet himself in the individual race. So that marks 4 years in a row they've been in the top four. They've got second, first, fourth, going back to the last 4 years, which is super impressive and, kind of a testament. I'm probably biased, but a testament to the coaching staff and things like that. We're really getting that program rolling. I think they had 17 participants this year, which is one of the biggest turnouts we've had ever. So really, really good boys season. And then our girls ended up qualifying for the state meet for the first time since 2005. Back then in 2005, it was just 1A, 2A. So this is the first time ever since it went to 1, 2, and 3 and it qualified for state. So a pretty awesome accomplishment this year. And again, just a testament to all the hard work those athletes put in. I know every practice in the fall can be dicey, but those kids out there running miles after miles in the rain and wet and wind, it's pretty incredible what they do, and not something I would want to do. So really, really proud of the team, and thanks to the Coach Isom and Coach Jacobson this year, who helped assist this year. Did a really good job with the kids. So congrats on a great season, guys.
Congratulations. Thank you to the coaches. All right, next item up is the superintendent report. Dr. Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The challenge with doing the superintendent report is the things that I write about are often the things the principals want to write about in their reports, and so I'm going to try to avoid stealing their thunder on anything. So just like to start out, many of you were in attendance. Actually, I think all of you were at the gym and middle school dedication last week. It was a lot of fun. Both of the basketball teams won, which was even more fun. But it was a great event. We had some great students cutting the ribbon. It was fun to see them do that. And the students who were cutting the ribbon were part of the planning team all the way through. So there were students who started as early as 6th grade planning the school, and it was nice to see it come to its completion. The gym, we've had a couple of little hiccups with it, but nothing major. Because we've got the HVAC system working properly now, the water heater is working properly. We had a couple of little divots in the floor that we've had to address, but those are minor things, and it's working out well for the teams. I'm getting great reviews from both coaches, players, families, and our community users as well. We use pickleball on Sunday, and so my treatment said it was nice to use and worked really well for them. So it's nice to see. I think it's booked six nights a week already, so it's great to see that community resource being put to good use. And a couple other things. I am going to allow Director Montgomery to speak to this, but last night he and I attended the legislative meeting in Astoria. He'll probably speak more about it and go more comments, but it was a good event. We all attended, about 50 people there, and it was nice to see that kind of advocacy for public education with the local legislators. We are also tracking with regards to budget. There is some word out there that the federal government may implement a 25% reduction in title funding. We receive several types of title funding in the district. Some of it provides direct support to students in the elementary schools, predominantly around literacy. We also receive some for students that are speakers of English language learners. And we also receive some of that money for professional development. And so some of those resources are in jeopardy, and so we'll be tracking that as we start moving into budget season later on this spring. But if there is that reduction, we either would need to backfill that using general fund resources or reduce program for kids. And so that's challenge that we're seeing maybe coming toward us as we move forward. So we do still need bus drivers. So we have some community members here tonight. So if any of you want to rent a yellow limousine, we'd be glad to train you how to do it. Or if you know somebody who might be interested in working in the school district, we would be glad to have them apply to be a bus driver for us. And we are still seeking a chief financial officer. Nancy Hull is our interim, has been doing great work, and we appreciate what she's been doing. And whoever we hire, Nancy will be helping with the transition along the way. The audit report is slated for presentation to the board in January, so you'll see that soon. And I did want to mention last week on Monday we had an in-service day, and first thing in the morning we actually did a session training our staff on use of AI, artificial intelligence, to make their teaching jobs easier. And so we basically learned how to use AI a little bit better. Got some ideas about different prompts you could put in and ways to make the job easier for teachers. And there's a lot of good resources out there, and it's only getting better. So it was maybe the first of a couple of trainings we're going to do with our staff on that, but it's something that's with us now, and it's a useful tool. And you rather than fight it, you can able to embrace it and use it for good things. You will see before you in the policy update, there's also a policy regarding AI that basically permits our staff to use it. There's nothing prohibiting that, but and then we also need to have some internal conversations about student use of AI and how we handle that potential for student use, especially in light of cheating and things like that. So. Still more to come on that, but I thought it was a good training, and I think that it's been kind of fun because staff members have been coming up to me and like, I used AI for this, or I used it for that, and it was really easy. In fact, I think Mrs. McMullen used it for a task yesterday. They put it out these years, so it's kind of fun to see that technology evolving. So I don't have anything. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on, but the principals were short and they did their reports. I'll to address any questions that you might.
Any questions? All right, thank you. All right, next up is the financial report.
Thank you, and good evening, Chairman and members of the board. You have your financial report for the month of November. The format, again, has changed slightly from what you have been receiving in the past. And at the bottom of the report, you'll find the expenditures by major function. And that is a requirement that we monitor that because appropriations have to be within the adopted budget. You cannot spend more than you have appropriated. So we need to keep an eye on that, and that's at the bottom of the report. There was most notably a slightly larger than expected increase in property insurance, and that is somewhat due to some addition of new classrooms. The current projected fund balance for Fund 100 is going to stay at the number that's presented to you. I've been in touch with the auditors over the weeks. They still have to get a draft to us, and then they will submit to ODE on time by December 31st, which is a legal requirement. And then they'll make the presentation to the board in January. So again, anticipated revenues and expenditures are calculated on items that have been encumbered, and then any projections that we have. I've spoken about the Forecast 5 program, and that is available. It actually has 5 years of actual history for expenditures and revenues, and it uploads into that program. So then it calculates based on those historical amounts. Each month, it will project out through the year. And so that's something that I'd like to present to the board at the next meeting. The special reserve funds that were broken out on the revenue, you have the technology reserve fund, textbook reserve fund, and maintenance reserve fund. I have reflected those beginning fund balances on the board report. So that is under, on the top section, special revenue funds. The beginning fund balance that will come to you as a resolution to transfer in all of those funds combined is the $327,547. So that was the direction that the board gave the district when the budget was prepared. Any questions, any other comments, requests?
Any questions? Not for me. Great.
Thank
I would open the floor for a motion to approve the financial report.
I move to approve the financial report as presented.
I'll second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the financial report as presented. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is student board representative reports. Is there?
We don't have student representatives here. I'm assuming that Miley's at basketball practice. I think the coach wants him to practice today. So.
I think Kirk was sick because he wasn't in school.
So, no student practice this evening.
All right, on to new business. First item is assistant league presentation with Judith Thacker.
Great, thank you very much. So good evening, Chair Baines, members of the school board, principals, and staff. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the work of the Assistants League of the Columbia Pacific with the Knappa School District and Board. I'm Judith Huck. I'm the Public Relations Chair for the Assistants League. Joining me tonight are some of our amazing dedicated members in red, these lovely ladies here. These ladies are the ones that actually go out and work with your students, elementary, middle, and high school, along with some of our other volunteers, but these guys are the boots on the ground. First, I'd like to take a moment to recognize something truly special about Knappa and this school board. The people sitting here today are not just leaders. You are lifelong members of this community. Many of you grew up in Knappa, walked the halls of Knappa High School, and now dedicate your time and energy to ensuring the success of the next generation. This deep connection to the community is something rare and invaluable. It means decisions are made with not just knowledge, but with heart, with a genuine understanding of what Knappa stands for and the hopes and dreams of its families. You're not just guiding a school district, you're shaping the future of a place that's been home to you and your neighbors for generations. So thank you for your commitment and for carrying forward Knappa's legacy with such dedication and care. It's clear that this board is more than just a governance body. It's an integral part of what makes this community thrive. I was looking on your website for the school board, and I was just blown away. I'm really glad that you have information on there with who you folks are. It was really impressive. So I wanted to recognize you for that. We're here tonight to showcase the Assistants League supports how the Assistants League supports students in your district and explore additional ways we can work together to help students and families succeed. We see ourselves as partners in supporting the critical work your district teachers and counselors are already doing. With that partnership in mind, we'd like to share the details of our programs and ask how we can do more for your students. So who is the Assistants League of Columbia Pacific? We're a chapter of the National Assistants League with over 22,000 members and 120 chapters nationwide. Locally, the Assistants League has been serving Clatsop and Pacific counties for 17 years as a 501c3 nonprofit powered by about 50 dedicated volunteers. Our mission is to transform lives and strengthen communities through philanthropic programs that directly benefit children and families. So what do? We focus on hands-on involvement to make lasting difference for children. We collaborate with the public schools in Knappa, Warrenton, Astoria, Jewell, Seaside, and Nacelle to run impactful programs. Next slide, please. So why does it matter? The need in the North Coast area is significant. 17% of children in Clatsop County live below the poverty line. 32% of families with children in Clatsop County receive food stamps. Warrenton has the highest number of homeless youth in rural Oregon. These statistics highlight the challenges many families face and the importance of the support that we can provide. Next slide, please. So is Assistants League effective? We surveyed teachers and counselors across the districts we serve and received 130 responses. Here's what they reported about students we work with. Next slide, please. 60% noted improved attendance. 64% saw significant academic improvement. 77% observed better classroom behavior. 95% saw increased student confidence. And 79% reported higher classroom engagement. These outcomes reaffirm that the programs we bring to your schools make a real difference for these students. We were really encouraged with the results that we got back from the surveys. Next slide, please. So a high school counselor described our programs this way. The Operation School Bell program is wonderful for so many students. It not only allows them the opportunity to get new clothing that they pick out for themselves, it also connects them with a caring adult from the community. Next slide, please. Operation School Bell is our largest program, and we're proud to support Knappa District students. Can you go back one slide, please? In this year, 2024, 25 Hilda students received a small wardrobe of clothing like you see here. When we work with the elementary school students, we go out, we meet, a person meets with each student individually, asks them, what colors do you like? What patterns do you like? What styles do you like? And then we try and figure out what sizes they wear. We look at what sizes they're wearing currently. We'll trace their shoe or their foot and try and figure out what sizes they are. Then we go back to the warehouse that we have in Warrenton that's all brand new clothes that we purchased for these kids. And we put together a little wardrobe for them that would last them about a week. That's our goal. So they get jackets, they get shirts, pants, leggings, shoes, books, toothbrush, socks, underwear, like a whole little package that they get to try on when we bring them back to make sure that they like everything and that it fits, and then they take it all home. 17 middle school students and 20 high school students each had a $250 budget to shop with us at Fred Meyer's. Our volunteers meet the kids at Fred Meyer's. The school takes them out to Fred Meyer's. We match them up one-on-one. And we walk through Fred Meyer's and they can pick out whatever they need for school clothes. Coats, shoes, hoodies, whatever it is that they need, they can pick it out and we help them stay within their budget. And Fred Meyer's helps us with that. They give us all the discounts that are available. And so those kids can get a lot for $250. It's really cool. 76 students were in total were clothed this year. And we also fund each school's emergency clothing closet. Most schools have a closet with just stuff full of all sorts of things, clothes-wise and shoes-wise, so that if their child has an issue at school, they have somewhere to go to get a replacement product for them. Next slide, please. We provide duffel bags to children entering foster care and crisis situations. These bags contain essentials like clothing, blankets, hygiene and comfort items, offering dignity and care during difficult transitions. Next slide. Our school activity support helps cover fees and supplies for sports, music, theater, and other school activities. So far this school year, the Hilda Lottie School has $600 remaining of their allotted activity support funds. The middle school has spent $300 of their $600 available for students' needs this year, and they spent the funds on sports fees. The high school has $1,200 of their $1,800 that we allotted, and they used it. The $600 that they used was for sports fees for 12 students. So you have another $1,200 to spend. Next slide, please. Our Cinderella's Closet program allows students to borrow formal wear for school's dances so that we know that financial barriers don't prevent participation. So 18 Knappa students borrowed formal wear from us this year. We have over 700 dresses and gowns that they can choose from. Plus, we're starting to get into formal wear for young men. Next slide, please. Operation Scholarship. We offer each school two annual scholarships for graduating seniors that want to attend a community college or a trade school. This year it's $1,500 each. And unfortunately, we didn't receive any applications from Knappa students last year, so we didn't get to award any to Knappa students last year. So hopefully we will this year, this school year. Next slide, please. Our community outreach program is our emergency community need fund. When just something happens in the community and some family is in crisis, we have a pot of money that we can use to help them. So just wanted to let you know about that. Next slide, please. Our annual budget is about $200,000. Our funding comes from our annual Home and Chef Tour. We have a Home and Chef Tour that every year that 5 or 6 homes, people in one area, people will let us use their homes and we will sell tickets for people to be able to walk through these cool houses that have a cool view, or they're modern houses, or just something for that people would want to look at. And we have a chef in each house that's making little treats for people so they have a little snack as they're walking through, which is just a little added bonus. And we charge $40 or $45 per ticket. And so we raise funds. That's one of the ways we raise funds to be able to help kids. And then we also send out an annual ask for donations from individuals that have shown interest in what we do. So we get money from those folks, and we get corporate donations and grants. We have a grant writer that helps us with grants. So we get grants from local governments and different organizations, and that's how we fund what we do. Next slide, please. So we're always looking for ways to strengthen our partnership with the district. So tell us how we can help you. What in our programs do we have that you aren't taking advantage of perhaps, or that you weren't aware of? So just want to make you aware so you can let us know. You can let your contacts here know. And are there unmet needs where Assistance League could make a difference? For example, we've noticed at some schools, laundry, getting their clothes laundered is a difficulty for families. So do you have washers and dryers at schools? Is there some way we can help with that if that's appropriate? What else can we do for you? That's just an example. You can also join us. You could volunteer. You could be one of the great volunteers that we have that do all this. You can also be a donor. We welcome all donors, or just a supporter. You could be an occasional helper. So we have a community volunteer group that when we have our folks going out to Fred Meyer's, maybe we don't have enough volunteers to be able to staff so we can have one-on-one. So we have a community volunteer group, and we make sure everybody has a background check. We run a background check on everybody. We don't want anybody working with students that we don't have confidence in. So just know that. You can also spread the word. Tell your friends and neighbors and people that you work with at school what we're doing and how it works. Just let people know that we're here, so that the more people that know what we're doing, the more donors we'll get, the more support we'll get, the more volunteers we'll get, and that comes right back to you, because all the money we get comes back to the kids. Next slide, please. So thanks for the opportunity to share how the Assistance League supports your students and families. Together we can ensure that every child in Knappa has the support they need to thrive. And I'm happy to answer any questions or any comments that you might have.
Are there any questions?
I just appreciate the presentation, and at least with me, you're sort of preaching to the converted. I think you guys are one of the great organizations, and I know several of the volunteers and some of the students and families that you've been able to have a positive impact on. And so I know in my day job as a fundraiser, we've chosen your organization in the past to donate to, and I always tell folks, if you're looking to donate to a good cause, that the Assistance League I don't think there's anybody better, and the fact that that money goes directly to kids in need, I think is so important. I guess my only question was, and I just don't know this, is there a liaison within the school district who sort of can connect students with the Assistance League, or how does that typically work?
You know, at the high school, it's typically Chris Reed, our guidance counselor. It's a pretty close connections with like Cinderella's Closet and things like that. Kind of made her help some there too. But yes, we have someone who got in contact.
Okay, and I know that maybe it was when she was at Warrenton, but Jenny Smith, I think, has done some of that too, and again, some of the information is from her and how highly she speaks of the Assistance League and the impact it's had on kids.
Yeah, I want to echo what he said too, and I knew we had some of these programs, but I didn't know it came from the Assistance League, so exciting to see, and exciting to see people that I know that volunteer for that as well. In regards to the scholarships, is there a certain criteria that students have to meet in order to be eligible?
To be honest, I don't know.
Okay,
Does anybody know? Scholarships? No, I can get that information for you though.
okay. Yeah, and I had other questions, but I think I'm gonna go to your website now that I know, but I definitely, I think it's awesome what you guys do. And I have people that I want to be a part of your program, so.
Fabulous. We desperately need more people.
Yeah, volunteers.
We need more volunteers.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't have to be, we have monthly meetings most of the year. They don't have to do all of that. We just need people, boots on the ground when we have times that we're working with kids. We just don't have enough people.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
So I'll get the information on the scholarships and I'll send it to Jennifer so she can distribute it. Would that be
Awesome.
okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you for coming. I appreciate the presentation and just spreading the word about your organization, what you have to offer for the kids. I think until Will's been talking about it here for a while, about the good work that you do, and I wasn't really familiar with it, so it was something new to me. So it's really nice that you're able to come spread the word. We can do the same. We have the information, so I'm happy to do that and talk about the good things that you do and service that you give for our kids. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, the programs that you listed are just incredible. I first learned about you guys from my wife, who has seen some of the firsthand the interactions with the kids and stuff like that. And, yeah, it's awesome. So thanks for being here.
Thanks. Well, we appreciate your time and the opportunity to come out and talk to you. Thank you very much.
Before you go, can I take
Yeah.
a photo so I can put it in the newsletter? to
Yeah,
market
that would be
A
great.
little bit about the work
Yeah.
you do and you came to the board meeting?
Yeah, we would love that.
Gather around the close.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that'd be great, yeah.
You've got a look. Come on, gals, stand up.
You're asking for some marketing so we can provide.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Everybody look happy, because you are, right? Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you for all the work you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks. Yeah. You want to just grab some and we'll see what we have. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Oh, great.
So,
Oh, shucks.
Right. Next item is the bond GMP change. This is an action item. Dr. Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I mentioned earlier, we're not quite wrapping up with the bond work, but we've done the major projects. There are still a couple. Oh. you can continue.
Yeah.
So there, and by the way, we've extended scope of the project a number of times, as we've had resources available. But as we're trying to close out things with Fortis, there are a couple of things that have been unforeseen circumstances and or things that we want to expand into the scope of the project to get done. And so we're requesting a small extension of the GMP for the bond project in order to accomplish those things. A couple of those issues for the new student drop-off area, which, by the way, if you think it's too tall, it is. There was a mistake made with the fabrication. It'll be 4 feet lower than it is, so it actually will keep people dry. If you've driven past it, you can wonder how that canopy will keep people dry. It probably won't, but by the time they're done with it, it will. But what they discovered was from the previous canopy that was there, which some of you probably recall, that was taken out, the footings for that unit were substantial under the sidewalk, much more substantial than anybody knew. And so our ability to put in the new canopy and the new footings, we had to remove the old ones, and the old ones were major. I mean, I watched them taking those things out. They were way bigger than they expected. Big River took like 3 days trying to figure out how to get those things out of the ground. And so it took a lot more labor and equipment and things like that in order to make that happen. Additionally, we had some small things, a change in the Wi-Fi antenna that connects the football field to the internet so that we can put the football games on the NFHS system. That was something that was originally fixed to the chimney that we tore down, and it needed to be moved so we could get a line of sight down to the field. We had another electrical outlet box. Those are minor things, but the larger of these things is the design for the middle school, the portal area where you go out of the main building into the walkway out there, and the gym doors. There are no ADA operators on those doors, which are the push buttons that allow the doors to be open for people who have mobility challenges. And they're not required by code in buildings of this size or this type. So they weren't put in the original design. They were treated as an alternate, and we want to exercise that alternate mainly for equity purposes, so that we have students that have some mobility issues, and we have some community members who do as well. So we want them to be able to get into the gym with access, as well as between the buildings over there. And so it's a little bit more of a complicated endeavor than we realized, because those doors have security features on them. They have locking mechanisms on them. They have, because of energy conservation requirements, they have air curtains on them. And so the door opener needs to overcome the air curtain in order to get open. And so there were some extensions and brackets that need to be put in. So between each of these items, there is a extension to the GMP necessary in the amount of $62,421. This is money that we do have in the contingency outside of the GMP, so it still exists within the budget. We're doing some reconciliation now, and we're going to be okay. But we are requesting that the board authorize, we rounded up a little bit just in case there's some other unforeseens, but we're requesting an extension of $65,000 in the GMP with Fortis to get this work completed and to deal with the unforeseen circumstances. I do have Nathan Folk on the screen if you have any questions. He's with Fortis, but I hope I've explained it to your satisfaction.
No, while Nathan's up here, thanks for coming up for the gym dedication and your gifts to the district.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fun night, and then it was fun seeing the gym be used officially. How about now?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it was fun coming out and seeing the gym get used for the first time, officially for a game, and seeing how much of the community showed up for it. So it's been a fun project, and it's been great working with you all throughout these last 2 years.
Are there any questions on this? All right, so I'll make a motion that the board authorize an expansion of the GMP with Forest Construction by $62,421, and that the superintendent be granted authority to authorize further expenditure up to $65,000 due to potential unforeseen circumstances.
Second?
All right, is there any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, thanks. Thanks, Nathan.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, next item is OSBA policy update. This is a first read and discussion.
So there's a lot of stuff here, but you have a copy before you, and I'm sure you've had an opportunity to look at it. A majority of these changes actually have to do with some changes in state legislation that established a civil rights coordinator position within the district. And essentially that position would be responsible for oversight for a number of civil rights type issues, for example, Title IX, American Disabilities Act, and a number of other items. And so there are, Section 504 would be another example. So there are multiple policies impacted by this. There's multiple policies that talk about those different things. And so in essence, the combination of the recommended changes allow for that civil rights coordinator position to be established within the district and take on those responsibilities. But all those policies need to be changed in order to put that into place. Additionally, there are some minor changes to the instructional materials policy. As I think the board is aware, we have done several modifications to the policies over the last couple of years to kind of fit some of the things that we were wanting to make sure we could address within the different act systems for. It really, there won't be major changes in that one based on what we've done recently, except I think that the changes do make it more explicit that library materials are included in that. We've been treating the policy as if library materials are a part of it. And there is verbiage in the policy that speaks to library books, but this makes that more explicit. Additionally, there are some proposed changes to the medication policy, and we've had Nurse Katie look that over, and so you can see some handwritten notes from her on that in her own handwriting. Brian probably recognizes it. We have some changes to the graduation requirements associated with changes in state law around graduation. And we have, as I mentioned earlier, an AI policy. And so it's basically a policy starting to memorialize the ability to use artificial intelligence for school purposes. So that's the essence of the policy changes in a nutshell. But if you have specific questions about anything, I can look at it. We may need to do some research for you, but that's it.
I did have one question under the civil rights coordinator role in the complaint process. And because I noticed that's added in there that now under certain complaints, when they follow through the steps that the civil rights coordinator will be notified with the complaint. And I just wanted to ensure that any policy that we have, that role has the confidentiality requirements that come with a complaint. So depending on who the person is and what the complaint is, there's responsibilities that come with being notified of a complaint process. So whether it be, depending on what role, and I think it's defined in here, and I was looking for it really quick about who it goes to. So say it was a complaint against the board chair, it goes to the vice chair, but there's a notification to the civil rights coordinator. So, but there's some confidentiality requirements within that, or if it's of a staff member, they have, rights under our other policies. So just that piece of it is new. So it's a question that I had.
So I've not yet determined who I want to designate as a civil rights coordinator. I've been talking with some of my colleagues in districts of like size. In several of them, the superintendent designated themselves as the civil rights coordinator, and that would be a person who understands confidentiality. In some of the districts, they've assigned their student services director in that capacity. mainly around the fact that decisions made by that person could be appealed to the superintendent. And so they want to have an extra layer of that. I haven't yet made a determination about how I want to handle that. We want to kind of figure that out before the board doesn't move to the ARs into place. But either of those positions respect confidentiality. The student service coordinator absolutely has to respect confidentiality, as does the superintendent. So I don't know if there's any policy language that needs to be put in place for that, but I can do some research on whether there's something that might make that more explicit if you didn't notice it there.
I didn't notice it. I mean, I would assume it would follow the normal, but they would need to be brought up to speed about what the responsibilities are and be notified of a circumstance like that. So it has implications if that confidentiality is breached.
Right.
In a complaint process. There was another question that I had about, I believe was there an admission? Yeah, there's an admissions, it's JECA, so admission, and it talks about how we would, for denial of regular school admission for students. And it says it may, I know it's circled on here, may based on district criteria. And I just wanted to ensure that if we're going to choose that part of a policy, that we have a district criteria for how to deal with a situation that this may arise in.
So you're gonna have to help me find it.
It's towards the end, JECA, admission of resident students.
Oh, okay.
And it's number 7, and it's circled right here with May.
Yep.
Based on district criteria.
Yeah. At this point in time, the only criteria we have is space available in the classroom program. And so that would be the only.
That would be the only circumstance under which we would deny
Right.
somebody under this.
Yeah, that's our current practice.
I think those.
I should mention, there's another section in here that speaks to students who have been expelled, which is treated separately, so.
This one was the one, it says, how it would read is the district may.
Oh,
based
this is
on-
the section, okay.
Yeah, deny regular school admission to a student who has become a resident student and who is under expulsion from another district for reasons other than a weapons policy violation.
Yeah, I'm sorry, there's 2 policies that read similar, or 2 lines that read similar.
Yeah,
I thought it was the
thank you.
one above it we were speaking about. Or actually, I think it's the one below, but anyway. Yeah, we probably should make those criteria more known or define those, I think you're right. On when we would deny a student's been expelled from another school, when we would, I don't think we have that at this point.
Okay.
Between now and next meeting, we can work to clarify that.
Those are the only questions that I
I think it would be rare. The only way allow those to come.
Are there any other questions? There's an opportunity with the second reading if you do see anything or want to discuss anything. Did everybody have a chance to look at the artificial intelligence one?
Yes.
I saw that you had circled on this one, IT department. Was that the proposed inclusion on here?
You're gonna have to help me find it again.
IKJ,
Okay, there it is. Yes. They're the most knowledgeable about
okay.
those sort of things. I don't nor do any of it, nor does anybody else have the expertise in that, so we can't have to do that. And they do, Mac Strickland, our IT person, does have obviously relationship with other IT people and the ESD to get, provide some information from as well.
So with this being a new policy and you just had some professional development done around artificial intelligence, if this were the policy, would that fit in with the training that you just
Yeah,
did
it's
with
consistent.
implementing that?
Yes.
I guess I was just thinking about it a little bit more, so it seems like this gives a lot of, like, I was reading through it, freedom to the, like, specific teachers, a specific class, so I guess what would be the concerns other than cheating? Are there concerns of, like, using it to do your work?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can use AI to solve a math problem, for example, like, and not really learn how to do the math, right? I mean, you can literally take a snapshot of a complicated math problem and it'll solve it for you, show you all the steps. So there are certain things that we want students to actually learn to do in school without using the technology, so they understand kind of the structure of the process and how that works. And so AI's got great capability in some of those areas. And so we want to allow the teacher to have discretion over when it can and can't be.
Yeah, and I mean, that stands to reason. I just didn't know if through the training that you did, if there was other things that may not be, that we may not be thinking about that would be some kind of.
I think there are a lot of things in AI that we haven't thought about. And I think we're all learning this as we go along. Now, the training was specific to staff use of AI. For developing lessons and coming up with classroom ideas and developing student materials and then carrying out some of the clerical tasks that teachers do. We haven't really even in the training touched the surface of student use of AI. We just wanted to get teachers familiar with it, kind of get a dose of that. And different people were at different places on that. We learned that as we started the training, different people have different experience and comfort level with AI. But we know that, well, students are already using it. And we need to make sure that teachers are knowledgeable enough about it in order to make those decisions in the classroom. Pretty well, at this point, it's been very limited. Although I know we have some teachers in the high school who I've been in the classrooms and I've seen them using it appropriately in their rooms. And I've also known some teachers who have said can't use it at all, and that's fair too. We leave that to the discretion of the teacher. But I think we have a lot to learn about the implications of AI in schools, and in many ways, it probably will impact the tasks that we ask students to do in school, because there comes a point where maybe if AI can do it, humans don't need to. I think back, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when scientific calculators were first brand new, right? And they found a place in the classroom that was appropriate, but it took a while for school to figure out, whether to allow them, whether not to allow them, and what they might be used for. But it allowed the type of math that kids were able to do to become much more complex because they had that tool available, so they didn't need to go back to a sine table to find the sine of an angle, right? I think AI is going to have potential to do similar things where we're going to be asking students to solve more complicated problems because they have more complicated tools that are able to solve those problems. I think the other thing that we learned is AI right now is about 80% on target, about 20%, like it makes it up, right? And so, students are going to have to learn, teachers are going to have to learn how to deal with the fact that AI isn't always correct, and you can't 100% depend on the information that it gives you.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is just, I don't know if there's a perspective on which software to use, right? So when you say AI, that's kind of a big blanket term for lots of different things, or lots of different companies, lots of different applications.
So in our training the other day, I think we used 4 or 5 different types of AI, different products. So, and I think there are some that are better or worse for different tasks, so you have to get to know that as well.
Can you tell if someone has used AI to like complete like a writing assignment? Because I know that I think it's come up, at least in the middle school, I've heard comments made to students like you've used AI and they're, like they don't even know what that is. I mean, some of them, but so I'm just curious, like, is there a way to say that this is what a student used, or is this just coming from a teacher thinking that they may have used it?
I'm gonna defer this one to Tammy. I don't want to talk about specific kids or specific situations.
Yeah.
But Tammy's probably more familiar with it. I know I've been filled in on some situations like that. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the cases where that's happened, there's been some rumor that the child used AI to do the assignments that perpetuated the question being asked, which is why it was investigated a little bit further rather than just teacher looking at the work and going, that was obviously AI generated. I think, am I right in the way that?
As far as I understand, but if there are other things that, have come up, obviously, I don't know. I haven't had somebody say, oh, this person was accused of AI without us looking into it.
Yeah, so sometimes it's a student saying, I used AI to do the assignment, and they're telling their friends, and their friends tell us. So sometimes they tell the teacher they used it, the teacher, says, well, that was supposed to be done without it, and, that. So
There are AI checkers, we use them already in the teaching.
Okay, that's what I was
Checker that you can
wanting to
just copy and
know,
paste
yeah.
the words into, give you like, this is 96% chance this was AI,
AI,
or this was
okay.
20% chance it's AI, or this portion is most likely AI. It'll give you kind of a range of what it is.
Perfect.
But I know we use that on a lot of our writing assignments that gets submitted to the teacher.
Okay.
And that's what our language arts teachers do as well.
Okay.
And they just have said, this is what, we do have a checker.
Yeah.
So, and that was one student said in particular, that they had used AI, but it was very obviously his writing, and he used AI as to come up with points as an outline. And
There's
then
some gray area.
it was obviously his writing. And so, so we've talked as a staff, I mean, it's really difficult to, like, where do you go, so.
But this isn't really a new problem, right? I mean, the tools are getting better, but I mean, I remember back when I was in school when the internet was kind of getting up and moving and there was, websites you could go to.
Yeah.
Google, I mean, was there, you
Yeah.
can Google and find an
Yeah.
answer really quickly also. Except, I mean, I know that was something that came up in search engines and stuff, as opposed to having to go and get an encyclopedia and find something yourself.
Right. And I think and this is where I think some of us especially, and I think that was very apparent at our PD, that this shift in thinking, right, around AI and where do we really feel? And we kind of all, even after the RPD, they're like, doesn't it feel like cheating? Like, a little bit for ourselves to be able to say, hey, write a lesson plan for blah, 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 blah. And it comes up with all of these lesson plans, it comes up with worksheets. I mean, and you kind of feel like, oh gosh, is that cheating? And so.
I didn't spend 12 hours working on that, so.
Right.
But you're
Write
right.
a letter.
I mean, ultimately, it just could change how education works, because you could say the same thing of something as basic as a calculator. Well, isn't that kind of cheating? But even with advanced calculators, it's still important that students understand what's going on, because even if a calculator can spit out an answer, you need to be able to see, is this reasonable? Are the inputs correct? And so I think it's the same thing as technology gets better. it's going to become more and more important to have those critical thinking skills and be able to evaluate information and maybe not as much go through the steps to create the information, but have, enough knowledge of what's going on that you can say, well, this doesn't make sense, or, the inputs are not correct so that I can get a correct answer out of this. And so I don't think it's like a good or bad thing. I think it's going to be a change in how things are done.
Well, and learning how to use it as a effective tool to help you to be successful, because I could see somebody using AI to assist them in doing a project. When you have a discussion with them and you find out that they have an understanding of what you've read that you think's AI, but if they really have an understanding of what they wrote, even if AI helped them develop an outline or bullets, I think you got exactly what you wanted out of the project for them. Regardless of if they had some bullets developed, if they then created the stuff under it to be successful, it just seems like, so it's how to use it responsibly and how it can be used as, you talk about AIs that being a personal assistant, helping you with things that to do stuff, but you still make the decisions.
Well, as far as preparing kids too for, life beyond school, these are tools and things that are going to be what they are. A lot of them are going to be using in the workplace and stuff like that too. So just saying no, it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just like Will said, it's just the reality of the world. So part of the job is educating on how to use these things responsibly and effectively so that they're successful once they leave here also.
Yeah, and I do think as our staff, kids are always 100% ahead of where the staff are on these things, but I think our staff, even in the last couple of weeks, we've had our learning around that, and I think you all know I used AI on the staff survey. Right? I put all of the open-ended responses from the staff into the AI and asked it to find themes. It did about maybe an 80% good job on that. 20% it was like, no, that isn't really what this says or what's in there, but it helps take a whole large amount of data, right, and kind of develop it into some useful meaning. So I think it's a useful tool for those sort of things. I think we're learning, our kids are learning, and we're doing that together as we move forward. But like I said, they're going to have that as a tool when they grow up. So how do we teach them how to best use it? And then how do we develop tasks that remain meaningful for the things that we need kids to learn, knowing that the AI exists?
Well, we had a student at graduation last year who,
We're
I'm not sure if he was serious or joking, but said his speech was written by AI.
Yeah. I asked him about that afterwards. He said it was about 90% written by AI.
I was gonna say, I think it was true.
Any other questions on the policy update? All right, next is capital projects update, and this is a discussion.
Okay, the font is a lot smaller than I expected, but we'll roll with it. This is part of the board goals and the superintendent goals. We have a commitment to annually review the capital project situation, add things to the list or remove things from the list as we need. The good news about this is, and you see a couple of zeros on here, we've accomplished a lot of things that were on the list. So if they were on the list last year, I included it on the list this year, so you can see that it's been completed. Some of the work was completed by the bond, so it was completed out of the maintenance fund. And then we've added some additional items to this list that we know are coming. I've worked with Randall on this as well. So you can see last year we actually had known that we needed to do something about the track and knew that it was in bad shape. We had I think it was almost a $500,000 quote on redoing the entire track, but we were able to figure out a way through a donation from Absolute Paving, as well as through a company that did top coating. I think the track probably has 10 years in it again now, worth of use. So we were able to do that for, I think the dollar amount is here, $26,000 total. That included the top coating, restriping, and all of that. The crack is now useful. We can hold crack paint on it. So we've got that dealt with. We had the drain line issue at Hodolati Elementary. We were able to address that by tying it to the gym line as part of the bond. So that's complete. We had the octagon roof at the high school, which was the final stage of the high school roof, which we were able to complete last summer. Again, using bond dollars. The seismic grant match, we've taken care of that. The high school fire sprinklers is still a cost. We have a current estimate for that project that is 1.5 million. I have been in conversation with Senator Merkley's office and one of his aides. There is a congressional request grant due in January, and so I'm working with them on submitting that timely so that we can pursue the high school fire sprinkler piece. The remaining HLE sprinklers, we still have a section of Hodolati that is not complete. They're estimating that to cost about, I think it's $370. And so that's the cafeteria and business office and then the area above the business office that have yet to be done. So there's a cost to that. Honestly, because of the construction of that type of building being predominantly brick construction and not having flammable materials, at least in the cafeteria area, it's probably not as high a priority as getting the high school done, which has a lot more flammable materials, there's a lot more at risk. We probably would put that as a lower priority than getting the high school done. We'd like to get them both done, and when I asked for the grant, I asked both. But still, I think that we probably need to prioritize this building higher. We have the lift in the garage isn't rated for the weight of our buses, and so we need to purchase a new lift for the garage. And so there's pricing for that as well. We're able to get by without using the lift, but it would work better for Kevin to have the lift available so we can get out of the buses more readily. Parking lot overlay, so about $250,000 there. We had a quote last year. Those quotes fluctuate with the cost of oil. With oil prices projected to go down a little bit, that might become a lower cost. We are going to try to address the parking lot as part of the bond run out, but we're still waiting to see where we stand on that. The ramp repair, we don't have a quote on that yet, but we know that the ramp out here is crumbling in the main driveway, so that needs to be addressed at some point in time. Baseball infield, we had a quote from Vincent previously, but Big River was able to come help us by introducing some sand to the field and doing some leveling on the infield to make it workable. And so we appreciate Big River's donation there, but don't really need to proceed with that. I should mention this isn't on this list, but we do have a contractor lined up to repair the dugout at Blue Way over that windstorm we had a couple weeks ago, and they'll be here the week after Christmas to get that repaired. So glad they're doing that. Fencing the bus yard, as we know, we've had some theft of bus fuel and some vandalism over the years to our buses. So we could fence the yard. The question that I think we need to wrestle with is, so the fencing would cost about $50,000. As an example, we had how much fuel was stolen the other day? Yeah, $500 worth of fuel. So it takes a lot of fuel to be stolen before it's worth $50,000 for a fence. And so the question, and we have some additional cameras out there now too, to hopefully make sure we can, better identify who's involved in that sort of thing. But it may not be worthwhile to spend $50,000 to solve a problem that might only be a $3,000 problem. So for that security. And Matt's already updated the cameras out there. So sprinklers in the elementary school are complete. They were done as part of the plan. That was one of the things we added. Doing the cafeteria and the business office is still to come. Oh, I'm sorry, cafeteria and business office is the roof, sorry. That roof is already slated for construction, the board's already approved that, and so that'll be done in spring. The intermediate wing is the next one we need to do. We've got a hefty price tag of $423 on that. We do occasionally have some leaking in that area of the building. We think we can limp it along for a couple more years with putting some tar on the roof and that sort of thing. But that's gonna be something we have to address in probably the next 2 or 3 years. So that's basically everything from the library out towards where the new playground is. So that's a big job. So the bus roof repair, that's underway right now. There is still some leakage in the middle roof from the bus barn. And actually, that's going to be addressed, I think, on Monday. So that's underway. The other sections here are the different zones of the elementary school that need to be done. The gym is probably the priority after the intermediate wing. The gym roof actually is not leaking. It's been holding pretty well. But when you go up there, the way you test the condition of the roof is look at how the granules are kind of holding to the roof, and they're getting pretty loose up there. And so that's going to need to be done in a few years. Track replacement, as I said, that is a hefty price tag, but we probably aren't going to need to do that for like a decade at this point because we're able to, have the track work in its current condition as we've done the upgrades last year. So I'm not going to read you all the other HLE roof zones. Generator for Hildalani Elementary. So we had a quote there to add a generator to that school. We did get a grant called a Spire grant for a generator for the high school. It just hasn't arrived yet. The state is doing the procurement for that, and they're delivering it to us. I've been waiting like a year for them to actually come through on that. I mean, they've agreed to the grant. They've said we get it, but every 6 months I give them a call and say, hey, where are we on this? And I just learned a couple of weeks ago when I was preparing this list that the state is still in procurement for that. So it will be here after they finish putting together the procurement and actually do the procurement. So the east lot overlay, actually the east parking lot is in a little bit better condition than the main parking lot because it was updated more recently, but it will need to be done at some point. And then we put a placeholder in here for play shed repairs. The play shed is deteriorating. We have some leakage in there. The walls leak, the roof leaks, the heating isn't good. It's definitely an auxiliary space that I think it was once an open air facility that was closed in, and the design is just poor. So we have a number just plugged in here to know that we have to do something with the play shed at some point. But probably a lower priority than a lot of other things, but it's not a great space. So this is the list that we have at this point. You can see, you're looking at, I think that number is 951,000. I need my bifocals to be really good to see these numbers, but close to $1 million to address the things with the remaining fire loop excluded, and then all in you're talking about. Just wanted the board to know where we are. We do have some funds in the maintenance reserve. Notice we didn't replenish that fund this year, but we do have some balance there that could be spent on some of these things if need be. And then we're also, right now, we're still in kind of a wait and see mode with regard to the bond run out to see what kind of money we have left at the end of that we might be able to use. We do have the possibility of pulling back some energy trust dollars because of the HVAC work we did back into the budget if we saw fit at some point in time. And then we have about another $39,000 in additional energy rebates that will be coming directly to the district as part of some of the commissioning that we've been doing recently. So we're kind of waiting to see where all those dollars fall and then identify which of these things we can afford as we move forward. But the fire sprinklers is a high priority, but obviously a very expensive priority for us. So we really need grant help to get that done. Aside from that, we really have to get those roofs at the elementary school addressed, the rest of the roofs. They're addressed. The other things are obviously much smaller. Glad to address any questions you might have.
So in one of the previous bond review meetings, there's the corrosion inside of the brick, in the structure of
At the
the
elementary school, yeah.
And you said that has potentially 50 years? Is that
Um,
approximate?
Yeah, that's real approximate. And that was really informal. So I was talking to the contractors who were here at the site doing the brick repair as well as the ceiling of the building. And the wall was open, and the rebar inside the wall has a little rust. I mean, it's not bad, but it still is mostly metal, not a lot of rust, but there's some rust on it. And it's due to obviously water intrusion into there. And so I just asked him kind of off the cuff, like, how much longer do you think this building has? And he said, yeah, probably 50 years. We haven't done an official analysis of it. The other thing is we can extend the life of the building by keeping it sealed, right? So we've done some of the work that it would take to extend the life of that building by replacing the cracked brick all the way around the building, putting the sealant up there. We did discover a leak in the building in our office on a wall that was, repointed. But we believe it's coming in under the wall because the base wasn't done correctly. They're actually coming out to fix that as well. So the only other space where we had any water intrusion was by the front doors to the school. I think it was just the way that they would blow the water under the door in the entryway there. But the wall seemed to have held tight in the rain events that we've had. But the more we can do to keep that exterior solid, the better we're going to be in the lifespan of the building. But probably 50 years.
So this new roof will see us through till the next bond, which then the assessments will begin a couple of years before that, and that's probably something that'll make sure 30 years from now somebody's got a note to check that as part of it.
We have to leave some breadcrumbs behind. I wish I had some breadcrumbs from 20 years ago. Because
They're pretty old. I may not remember.
I'm sure you all will still be on the board in 50 years.
Might be a problem for our kids and grandkids.
Yeah.
The only question I was gonna ask is, based on the current schedule or current outlook, for work that's being funded by the bond, what's the end point? What's the end of the current schedule?
We're paying for the roof over the cafeteria using bond dollars, and we're not gonna be able to address that until the weather hits. That will probably be May or June. We're kind of early on the schedule for the contractor on that because we've already got the work ordered. If we're able to do the parking lot, it'll probably happen in the summertime because you pay for the summertime. So I think that the money will be all exhausted by like next fall. Pretty long. That's my best prediction. There might be a little bit of. We also have a list of things in the elementary school that we were hoping to address with the bond that didn't get done. We're going to try to see if we can address those within the bond before we do the run out, because those are things we probably wouldn't be able to do if it weren't out of the bond. Good.
Any other questions? I think it'd be good that we bring this, I know there's people on the budget committee that are interested in what the progress we made. I think it's a good example, showing them what we've done and where we're at. So hopefully we can share that when the time comes.
I was pleasantly surprised when I pulled out the list that we had developed last year and I saw how many things we'd actually addressed. It's good news.
Great. On to district reports. We covered the financial reports, so we'll move to school reports. Lottie Elementary and Middle School.
Good evening. So first off, I apologize. I found a error as I'm sitting here. I was out on medical last year in December, and so I just copy and paste my good old spreadsheet over or table over, and it is missing December. So I will make sure that gets amended for next month. So these are not January numbers, these are December numbers for enrollment. So we did have a family come in to Knappa, which bumped us up a couple. We did unfortunately have a couple students leave this week because of a breakup in a family, which is a disappointment, and they will not be back. Obviously, Christmas and getting ready for winter break is always challenging, but with lots and lots of fun activities. We started with the turkey trot, which was a blast, and we raised almost $2,000 for our middle school athletic fund, and then our field day fund. Our boys basketball team, we had a big turnout, and they were almost all undefeated, all of the different teams. That was really fun. And we did find a few things in the gym, and our PE team, our PE classes have been very eager to be over in the new gym, checking it out, and they're trying very hard to make sure that the kids have the proper shoes. So sometimes you go over and you'll see a bunch of socks because, oh, that's a black marking shoe. We had a reading night, we had a band concert, we had a sing-along, we had Santa show up to the sing-along. And of course, we have dress-up days, tomorrow being twas the night before winter break, so lots of pajamas tomorrow. So that was really fun. I just want to highlight the winter reading night after we had over 50 students and their families come, and we had Mrs. Polinsky had set up around 10 readers in different spaces of the building, and there were 3 reading times available, and students went around and who do they want to have read a story to them. And so that was a really fun time, and it was well attended, and families said we need to make this a tradition. And so it's definitely something we want to do again next year. So, yeah. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Knappa High School.
The attendance report has been staying fairly steady. Looking at past trends, it's a pretty good sign. Usually by December, we've seen some decline over the last couple of years, so not seeing a good sign, I think. Another report, we did have our band concert. I think Tammy touched on that, but I just wanted to thank Mr. Houston for what he's doing with that band program at all accounts. It was a pretty awesome concert. It was well attended. They did really well. So it's really cool to see and nice to kind of get that program rolling. We touched on the professional development day we had. I thought that was really good. FAFSA applications are open. We had FAFSA nights earlier this month that our trio coordinator, Chris Mayhem, did. About a third of our seniors showed up, which is a pretty decent number. So I want to thank him for all the time he put into that. Make sure everyone's aware that he is available for help with FAFSA questions. We had our National Honor Society induction earlier this month also. I want to thank Chris Greenmar, who was the head of that. And then our newest members were Miley Olympia, Nadia Greenmar, Bailey Richardson, Aubrey Harrington, Beth Larson, and Aubrey Racinovich. So a really good accomplishment by those young ladies. And then another great accomplishment by one of those ladies was Aubrey Harrington was also selected to be on the Astoria Regatta Court this year. First time in about 5 years we've had a princess from our school, so that was really cool. And then winter sports are obviously well underway, and we're hosting home basketball games tomorrow in St. Paul, and then wrestling will have their final home meet of the year on January 11th. Any questions?
Questions? All right, thanks. Next is board member reports and future agenda items. Michelle? Will?
Nothing to report?
Brian?
I'll just mention, or I guess I mentioned earlier, we went to the legislative meeting last night that Astoria hosted, so it was a good turnout. There was more people there than I expected. There was obviously Astoria School Board, a bunch of Astoria teachers and some parents, but also from some other districts, Vernonia, Rainier, us, I can't remember who all else, but just for you guys, obviously we went through our legislative priorities at the last month at the last board meeting, and I didn't see Astoria's presentation beforehand, but then they went through their presentation, and their top 3 items were essentially our top 3 items, other than the item around the equity for rural districts, but current service level, special education funding, or students with more funding for those types of things. It was very, very similar, all based around, pretty much all based around funding. Senator Weber and Representative Javity were really receptive and stuff like that. I think that the tough thing in those is we also talked about some title stuff, which is federal funding, and I don't know how much they can do in those with certain of those items. Even stuff in the state, depending on what committee you're on or not. So, but they listened, and there's a lot of good stuff brought up, and some passionate teachers and stuff that spoke. So I thought it was interesting and good. But I guess just ultimately it was good to see that their priorities were in line with ours. They're probably not different across many of the districts in the state, particularly small ones. So.
Okay. I just mentioned that I did forward our legislative priorities on to Senator Weber and Representative Javati. I think that's early last week at least.
Yep, they had them there.
So, okay, good.
Yeah.
All right.
She had it in her folder.
Okay, well, that's good. She has them to take with her. So. Thanks for attending the meeting. Dr. Chris, thank you. Thanks for representing us and speaking on our behalf and advocating.
We're the only other school that said anything. So.
Yeah. All right. No other business. This meeting is adjourned.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.